The Discovery Dr. Nora Blackthorne knelt in the Wyoming dirt, her archaeological tools scraping against something that shouldn't exist. The metal surface gleamed dully through centuries of accumulated soil, its curved hull emerging like a technological fossil from humanity's forgotten past. Her grandmother's sketches, those obsessive, intricate drawings that had covered every surface of the old woman's study, flickered through her memory with stunning clarity. "Impossible," she whispered, but her trembling hands traced the exact geometric patterns Grandma Violet had drawn thousands of times. 3 interlocking spirals surrounded by hexagonal nodes, etched into what appeared to be a craft's hull plating. The design was unmistakably alien, yet hauntingly familiar. The dig site had been routine till this morning. A standard survey of pre-Columbian settlements had turned extraordinary when ground-penetrating radar detected massive metallic anomalies 30 feet below the surface. Nora's team had initially suspected mining equipment or buried machinery, but the shapes defied conventional explanation. Professor Blackthorne, her graduate assistant, Marcus Webb, approached cautiously. "The university's calling. They want status reports." Nora ignored him, her focus entirely consumed by the emerging artifact. The metal felt warm beneath her gloved fingers, despite being buried for what appeared to be centuries. No corrosion, no decay, just pristine technology that predated human civilization by millennia. Her grandmother's voice echoed across the years. "They came before the ice melted. Nora, before we learned to make fire, they were already here, waiting." Everyone had dismissed Violet Blackthorne as eccentric after her husband's death. The old woman had filled journals with elaborate spacecraft designs, alien hieroglyphs, and mathematical equations that seemed to describe faster-than-light travel. Family members had attributed her obsession to grief-induced delusions, but Nora had always wondered about the precision of those drawings. "Get the larger excavation equipment," she ordered, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "And call the geology department. I want soil samples from every layer." As Marcus hurried away, Nora continued her careful exposure of the craft. The hull stretched far beyond what their preliminary scans had suggested, at least 200 feet in length, with complex superstructures that emerged like sleeping giants from the earth. Her satellite phone buzzed. The university again? No. Doubt wondering why she'd gone silent during what should have been a routine dig. She silenced it and returned to her work, knowing that everything, her career, her reputation, her understanding of human history, was about to change. The setting. Sun cast long shadows across the excavation site as more of the craft became visible. Nora's grandmother had been right about everything. The ships had been here all along, waiting beneath humanity's feet for someone to remember their existence. She pulled out her own notebook and began sketching, her drawings matching her grandmother's with uncanny precision. The family gift, it seemed, ran deeper than anyone had imagined. The awakening 3 days of intensive excavation had revealed the craft's true scope. Dr. Nora Blackthorne stood at the edge of the pit, watching as her expanded team carefully exposed what appeared to be a complete vessel. The ship stretched nearly 300 feet in length, its hull composed of materials that defied conventional analysis. "The spectrographic results are impossible," reported Dr. James Cordova, the materials scientist she'd urgently requested. From Denver. "The alloy composition includes elements not found on Earth's periodic table. Yet carbon dating suggests it's been here for over 12,000 years." Nora studied her grandmother's journals, comparing the emerging reality with Violet's obsessive documentation. Every detail matched perfectly the swept-back wings, the crystalline formations along the hull, even the positioning of what appeared to be landing struts. "Have you found any access points?" she asked Dr. Priya Nakamura, her xenoarchaeology colleague who'd driven from Colorado State upon hearing about the discovery. That's the strange part, Priya replied, gesturing toward the craft's midsection. There are seams that suggest hatches or doorways, but no visible mechanisms. It's as if the ship was sealed from the inside. Marcus approached with the latest ground-penetrating radar results. Professor, you need to see this. The scans show internal spaces, compartments, corridors, what might be a bridge section. The vessel appears to be entirely intact. Nora's heart raced. An intact alien spacecraft, buried beneath American soil for millennia. The implications staggered her. If humanity wasn't alone, if visitors had arrived before recorded history, everything would need to be reconsidered. Her satellite phone rang insistently. Federal authorities had somehow learned of the discovery, demanding immediate access to the site. She'd managed to delay them for 48 hours, but time was running out. We need to get inside, she decided, her grandmother's words echoing in her mind. When the time comes, you'll know how to open it. Approaching the ship's hull, Nora placed her palm against the metal surface. The warmth she'd noticed earlier intensified, and the geometric patterns began to glow with soft blue light. The seams Priya had identified suddenly became visible as hairline fractures that spread across the hull like awakening neural pathways. Everyone stand back, she called, her voice tight with anticipation and fear. The ship responded to her touch with a low harmonic vibration that seemed to resonate through the ground itself. Panels that had appeared solid began to separate, revealing themselves as sophisticated doorways. Ancient mechanisms, preserved by unknown technologies, activated with smooth precision. My God, whispered Dr. Cordova, his equipment registering energy signatures that shouldn't exist. It's powering up. The craft's interior illuminated with the same blue radiance, casting eerie shadows across the excavation site. Nora could see corridors extending into the vessel's depths, waiting to reveal secrets that had remained hidden since humanity's dawn. Her grandmother's final journal entry flashed through her memory. The ship will recognize our bloodline. When you find it, remember we are not the first, but we might be the last. The message the ship's interior defied every expectation. Dr. Nora Blackthorne led her team through corridors that seemed to pulse with life, their walls covered in the same geometric patterns her grandmother had obsessively drawn. The vessel's architecture suggested beings roughly human in size, but with subtle differences that hinted at non-terrestrial origins. The atmosphere is breathable, reported Dr. Nakamura, checking her instruments. Oxygen levels are actually higher than Earth normal. How is that possible after 12,000 years? The ship's been maintaining itself, Nora replied, her voice echoing in the alien corridors. Look at the walls, no dust, no degradation. This technology is beyond our current understanding. They reached what appeared to be the vessel's central chamber, a circular room dominated by a complex console that rose from the floor like a technological altar. The surfaces were covered in symbols that matched her grandmother's sketches with absolute precision. Marcus set up recording equipment while Dr. Cordova took readings from the console. I'm detecting massive data storage capabilities, he announced. This appears to be some kind of information repository. Nora approached the console cautiously. As her fingers neared the surface, the symbols began to glow, responding to her proximity. The patterns rearranged themselves, forming what appeared to be a welcoming interface. It's recognizing you, observed Dr. Nakamura, just like it recognized your touch outside. The console activated fully, projecting a three-dimensional hologram that filled the chamber. The image showed Earth as it had appeared millennia ago, continents positioned differently, ice sheets covering vast areas, and primitive human settlements scattered across the landscape. A voice emerged from the projection, speaking in perfect English with subtle harmonic undertones. Greetings, descendant of the Blackthorne lineage. Your arrival fulfills the purpose for for which this vessel was positioned. The teen stood frozen, watching as the hologram shifted to show the craft's arrival on ancient Earth. The image depicted a small fleet of similar vessels, their occupants working alongside early humans in what appeared to be a cooperative relationship. "We are the keepers," the voice continued. "We came to your world not as conquerors, but as gardeners. Your species showed remarkable potential, but lacked the guidance necessary for safe development." Nora found her voice. "You've been watching us. For thousands of years? Not watching nurturing. We embedded ourselves within your genetic lines, establishing bloodlines that would carry the knowledge necessary for eventual contact. Your grandmother, Violet Blackthorn, was one of our most successful integrations." The hologram showed Violet. As a young woman, standing beside the very console Nora now faced. The image was impossible. Her grandmother had lived in the 20th century, not the distant past. Each generation, we select individuals with the strongest genetic markers. They become our unconscious agents, documenting our technology, preparing for the day when humanity would be ready for truth. "Ready for what truth?" demanded Dr. Cordova, his scientific skepticism battling with the evidence before him. "That you are not alone, that you never were alone, and that the time has come for you to join the greater community of intelligent species." The projection shifted again, showing vast space stations, alien worlds, and countless species working together in what appeared to be a galactic civilization. "Your species approaches a critical threshold. The decisions you make in the next century will determine whether humanity becomes a valued member of the cosmic community or destroys itself through technological misuse." Nora stared at the images, her mind reeling. "What do you need from us?" "Nothing. What we offer is knowledge, the understanding your species needs to navigate the challenges ahead. But first, you must prove humanity is ready to receive it." The console projected a countdown timer, 72 hours. "The test begins now." The alien countdown had reached 18 hours when everything changed. Dr. Nora Blackthorn stood in the ship's control center, watching as governments worldwide demanded access to the Wyoming site. Military convoys surrounded the excavation, while news helicopters circled overhead like technological vultures. The Pentagon's threatening to classify the entire discovery, reported Dr. Nakamura, monitoring communications from her laptop. "They want to move the ship to a secure facility." "They can't," Nora replied, her hand resting on the alien console. "The ship won't respond to anyone else. The Keepers made sure of that." Over the past day, she'd learned more about humanity's hidden history than seemed possible. The alien archives contained detailed records of human development, showing how the Keepers had subtly guided technological advancement while remaining invisible to mainstream civilization. "Professor," Marcus called from the chamber's entrance, "there's someone here to see you. Says she's from the Blackthorn family." An elderly woman entered, her silver hair pulled back in a severe bun. She moved with surprising grace, her eyes holding the same intensity Nora remembered from her grandmother's gaze. "I'm Evelyn Blackthorn," she announced, "Violet's younger sister. I've been waiting 70 years for this day." Nora stared at the woman who should have been dead decades ago. "Aunt Evelyn? But you died when I was a child." "That's what the family was told," Evelyn replied, approaching the console with familiar confidence. "In reality, I was recruited by a government program that had been monitoring keeper genetics since the 1940s. We've been preparing for this moment." The console responded to Evelyn's presence, displaying new information that made Nora's blood run cold. The test wasn't just about humanity's readiness, it was about survival. The galaxy contained hostile forces that had been watching Earth, waiting for humanity to develop interstellar capabilities. "The Keepers aren't the only ones who've been here," Evelyn explained. "There are other species that view emerging civilizations as threats to be eliminated. The test determines whether humanity receives protection or faces extermination. Outside, the military situation was escalating. General Patricia Hawthorne, no relation, despite the similar name, had arrived with orders to seize the ship and all related materials. Her forces were positioning for an assault on the excavation site. "We have to complete the test," Nora realized. "What does it require?" Evelyn's expression grew grave. "Unity. The Keepers need to see that humanity can work together, that we've evolved beyond our tribal nature. But look around. Governments are fighting over who controls the discovery. Military forces are preparing for conflict, and the media is spinning everything into nationalist propaganda." The console projected a real-time assessment of global reactions to the discovery. Nora watched in horror as nations accused each other of hiding alien technology. Religious groups declared the ship demonic, and social media exploded with conspiracy theories and calls for violence. "We're failing," she whispered. "Not yet," Evelyn replied. "The test isn't about immediate success. It's about potential. The Keepers want to see if humanity can choose cooperation over conflict when faced with the ultimate challenge." The timer showed 6 hours remaining. Outside, General Hawthorne was making final preparations for her assault. The ship's defensive systems had activated, creating an energy barrier that kept the military forces at bay, but Nora knew it wouldn't hold forever. "There's something else," Evelyn continued. "The ship contains a communication array that can reach every human on Earth simultaneously. We can address the entire species at once, but only if we're willing to reveal everything." Nora looked at the console, understanding the weight of the decision. Complete disclosure would change everything: religion, politics, humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. But it might also be the only way to unite the species in time. "Do it," she decided. "Activate the array." The ship's systems hummed to life, preparing to broadcast the truth to 7 billion people. The choice, the global broadcast, began at exactly noon, Greenwich Mean Time. Dr. Nora Blackthorne stood beside the alien console as her image appeared on every screen. Every device, every communication system on Earth, the ship's technology had seamlessly integrated with human infrastructure, making the transmission impossible to block or interrupt. "My name is Dr. Nora Blackthorne," she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the planet. "I'm speaking to you from inside an alien spacecraft that has been buried beneath American soil for 12,000 years. What I'm about to tell you will change everything we believe about our species and our place in the universe." The response was immediate and chaotic. Governments scrambled to regain control of their communication networks, while citizens worldwide stopped what they were doing to listen. Traffic ground to a halt as drivers pulled over to watch the impossible transmission. "We are not alone," Nora continued. "We have never been alone. An advanced species called the Keepers has been guiding human development since our earliest civilizations. They are not our enemies. They are our gardeners, helping us grow into a species capable of joining a galactic community." The console projected holographic images that accompanied her words, showing the Keepers' history with humanity. Ancient megalithic structures revealed themselves as collaborative projects between humans and aliens. Scientific breakthroughs throughout history displayed subtle alien guidance. The truth of human development unfolded before billions of eyes. "But we are not the only species aware of Earth," Nora revealed, her voice growing urgent. "There are others, hostile civilizations that view emerging intelligent species as threats. Humanity is approaching a threshold where we can no longer hide from galactic attention." The global reaction was everything she'd feared and hoped for. Some nations immediately declared states of emergency, while others called for international cooperation. Religious leaders struggled to integrate the revelation with their teachings. Scientists worldwide began confirming the authenticity of the transmission. "The Keepers have given us a test," Nora explained. Not a test of our technology or our knowledge, but a test of our character. Can humanity unite when faced with the ultimate challenge? Can we choose cooperation over conflict? Outside the ship, General Hawthorne had called off her assault, her forces standing down as the implications of the broadcast became clear. The discovery was no longer a national security issue. It was a species-wide challenge that required unprecedented cooperation. The console displayed real-time global responses. In Geneva, the United Nations was convening an emergency session. In major cities worldwide, people were gathering in public spaces, discussing the revelation with strangers. Social media, instead of exploding with division, was filling with calls for unity and cooperation. "We have 3 hours remaining," Nora announced, the alien timer visible behind her. 3 hours to prove that humanity deserves protection, guidance, and eventual membership in the cosmic community. The broadcast continued for another hour, with Nora answering questions that seemed to come from the collective consciousness of the species. She explained the Keepers' technology, their history, and their hopes for humanity's future. She revealed that other human bloodlines carried alien genetics, that the ship was one of dozens hidden across the planet, and that the choice facing humanity was irreversible. When the transmission ended, the world had changed. The timer showed 2 hours remaining, and the global response was unlike anything in human history. Nations began sharing their hidden alien artifacts. Scientists worldwide started collaborating on decoding Keeper technology. Religious leaders found common ground in humanity's shared cosmic heritage. In the ship's control center, Evelyn Blackthorne smiled at her grandniece. "Your grandmother would be proud," she said. "You've given humanity exactly what it needed, the truth, and the chance to choose its own destiny." The timer reached 0 as the sun set over Wyoming. The console glowed brightly, displaying the Keeper's assessment. Test completed. Humanity demonstrates sufficient unity potential. Welcome to the galactic community. Above them, the stars began to move, revealing themselves as ships, a vast fleet of Keeper vessels that had been waiting in Earth's shadow for millennia. The age of human isolation was ending. The age of wonder had begun.